What is going on, everybody? Malcolm back again from Majestic Skies, and today in this video I'm going to be reviewing my new GoPro Hero 11 Black, and this is going to be a review focused on how this camera fares when used for snowboarding. So it's going to be kind of a quick snowboarding focused review. So if you do enjoy the video, please do make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. But without further ado, let's get right into it. So first off, let's get into the pricing of this camera. So actually, if you go for the subscription model GoPro has, it's actually quite reasonable. The camera sells for $350 US plus the $500 US for the year subscription, rather than $550 US without this subscription. The subscription includes some great perks as well, such as big discounts on GoPro products and accessories, and you do also have the ability to have your camera replaced for $100 US should something happen to it with no questions asked. You also get free cloud storage and some other perks as well. I ended up buying the media mod with mine because you get actually a pretty good discount on that. For the 55 extra US dollars I spent, you get a HDMI out, you get USB charging still, includes an external mic built right into it, so great for vlogging, and you can also hook up your own external mic, so should you choose. Now unfortunately, if you do live outside of the US, such as Canada in my case, you are going to have to pay some additional custom fees and shipping fees unless you have the ability to pick the camera up for the US. I don't know if it's like that for every country, but definitely for Canada, I do expect to pay a few more fees there. Overall cost-wise though, I definitely think this camera is great value and competes well with its competition when you factor in the GoPro subscription. So moving on, let's get on to the specs of this camera, some of the kind of standout specs. So it's got a 27 megapixel 1.5 inch sensor and an 8:7 aspect ratio. It shoots 5.3K up to 60 frames per second, 4K up to 120 frames per second, and 2.7K up to 240 frames per second. It also features 10-bit video, which is a new feature on the Hero 11. It has a 2.27-inch touchscreen, a 1.4-inch front screen, which is great for vlogging. Also features 33 feet of waterproofing, USB-C charging, and connectivity. They also include the new Enduro batteries, which last a little bit longer than GoPro's previous batteries. Some of the new software features are the new Hyperview, which gives a more vertical view from that 8:7 sensor, which has been changed on this camera. GPS telemetry does also make a comeback for speed and altitude information, as well as some additional information you can put on the video. As far as what's actually included in the box, you don't get too much. You get a couple camera mounts, but I do like that GoPro included this nice case. Great for holding all your accessories and the camera itself, so that was a nice little bonus there. So let's move on past specs now and talk about practicality. Now, what do these specs actually mean when it comes to shooting snowboarding videos? The 5.3K footage out of the Hero 11 is simply incredible, especially with the new 10-bit color option, as you get a much more vibrant, rich image compared with past GoPro cameras. The footage is also extremely stable with Hyper Smooth turned on, and I feel GoPro is still the industry leader when it comes to stabilization. You also have the ability to dial in exactly how much stabilization you want, which is really nice. The new Hyperview feature is definitely a game changer, especially when it comes to snowboarding videos. You get an equivalent of a 12mm field of view through the camera, which allows helmet-mounted videos as well as selfie stick videos to feel much more immersive and engaging. Now, it does need to be said that Hyperview does give an extremely distorted view, which won't be great for everything, but you do have the option of benefiting from the more vertical sensor without the distortion by switching to the 8:7 aspect ratio and reframing in editing. Superview is of course still available, and it serves as a great compromise as it's still super wide angle with more controlled distortions. Linear view with horizon lock is also a new feature on the Hero 11, which allows you to rotate the camera a full 360 degrees without basically the footage rotating at all. So it's going to give you a super stabilized, zoomed in view. It definitely opens up some creative opportunities for filming. For snowboarding, I would recommend this mode most when you're filming your friends in the park, as it provides a super stabilized, crop view, which is extremely forgiving when it comes to framing. Now, this being a GoPro camera, of course, the slow motion features of this camera are really incredible. The 2.7K 240 frames per second video in particular is incredible, with a 6-second recording turning into a full minute of recording when played back in slow-mo at 24 frames per second. For more professional work, however, I would still recommend sticking to 4K 120, which is kind of crazy. This camera does that as well. It's going to give you a much sharper image that's going to be more suited for professional applications. It would have been cool to have gotten 1080p and 300 frames per second or more, but due to the high shutter speed that would require, I do understand why they didn't include that feature. As far as the photos you can get out of the Hero 11, it has a 27 megapixel sensor, so absolutely incredible resolution. It does have features for long exposure photography, star trail time lapses, hyperlapses. All this works great. We're not something we're going to be getting into in great detail since this review is more focused on winter sports. But if you do plan on doing some photography with your action camera, I don't think you're going to be disappointed. Now, as far as the usability of the Hero 11 goes, it's very easy to use, and the nice thing is you can turn off some of the more advanced settings for a simpler interface. The app from your phone works very, very well. I really don't have any complaints about it. The touchscreen is very responsive also. However, be aware that some screen protectors, like the one I have on my camera, are going to basically affect the sensitivity of that, but that's really not a fault of the camera itself. Now, on to some of the issues and drawbacks of the Hero 11. Now, unfortunately, there are some drawbacks with the Hero 11, especially when it comes to shooting snowboarding videos. The biggest one I found is the operating temperature limit of -10 degrees Celsius with this camera. Now, for winter sports, -10 Celsius really isn't all that cold, and in my testing I would have the camera shut off on me mid-run, sometimes even in warmer temperatures due to the wind chill. You can still use this camera quite well in colder temperatures, but you're gonna have to warm the camera up on the chairlift from time to time and pick and choose when to start and stop your recordings once it gets below -10 Celsius. This is something I actually didn't know before buying the camera, and GoPro's biggest competitor, DJI, their Action 3 works a little bit better in extreme climates with a cutoff of -20 Celsius. So this is something I'd definitely like to see GoPro improve upon. I don't know if they can simply come up with a better battery or an additional case for the extreme cold, but it would be really nice to not have to deal with the temperature limitations of this camera. It's still very usable for snowboarding, but I think this is something everyone should be fully aware of before they commit to buying this camera, especially for snowboarding or skiing or really any winter sports at all. The battery life does, of course, also suffer. It's not as good as advertised, probably due, of course, to the fact that it's just not as great in colder climates.
One other minor complaint which I do have would be to do with the low light capabilities of this camera. As you can see in these clips here, you are going to be getting a lot of noise in your image when using this camera in low light situations. This is an issue that's present in most action cameras on the market due to their smaller sensor size, but it is something to be aware of. To minimize this problem, I would recommend only shooting in the widest angles in low light mode, Hyperview or Superview or the 8x7 mode. I have heard GoPros improved the low light capabilities on the Hero 11 compared with past models, so it is nice to see GoPro taking some steps in the right direction. Personally, I would love to see if GoPro would offer an even higher end model in the near future with a 1-inch or larger sensor. Yes, it would make the camera quite a bit larger, but it would still be a nice option for us enthusiasts.
The only other main complaint I have would be to do with the size of this camera. So it is noticeably larger than my previous camera. As you can see, this is the DJI Osmo Action, and it is quite a bit smaller. Of course, when you put this in its case, it's a little bit closer, but it's a little bit bulkier, and when you have it on a selfie stick and you have it on your helmet, you're going to notice that size, and it is something you have to watch out for, especially if you're going in the trees, to make sure you don't bump the camera on a tree or something like that. Still, I will admit the weight is not as bad as you'd think considering the size. It weighs pretty comparable to my Action 1 here, so weight wise it's not a big issue. It's really just the larger size. So moving on, let's go ahead and just give a full overview on whether I would actually recommend this camera for winter sports and snowboarding in particular. As you can probably tell from the video, I do really like the camera, and the answer is of course yes. The 5.3K 10-bit footage is simply incredible to this camera. It's super versatile for snowboarding, and my biggest complaint is really just to do with the -10 C temperature limit. I feel the footage itself has an edge over DJI's Action 3 from the reviews I've seen on that camera. So as long as you're willing to warm the camera up on the chairlift from time to time, it's not really a deal breaker. I would still say DJI's Action 3 is worth considering because of its ability to shoot down to -20 Celsius, but that camera does still have some drawbacks, especially compared to the Hero 11, which I would recommend looking into if you're considering both of these cameras. Other than that though, I do want to thank you very much for watching this video, and if you did enjoy it, please do make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to us here on Majestic Skies. Happy shooting everybody, and hope everybody enjoys the rest of their winter season.